Winter is coming for Game of Thrones fans, and 20 years ago, it certainly came to Toronto.
It did. That's when a major storm hit our city, and then the mayor called in the army. It was a decision talked about across the country and the world. Political analyst Jim Warren was at City Hall when Mayor Lastman made that decision 2 decades ago now. Wow. He joins us live. Jim, take us back. It's been much chuckled about since. What was it like from your side of things? How did that decision come to be?
It was quite remarkable. It was really 2 weeks in the making. It was a snowstorm after snowstorm after snowstorm. And while streets were getting shut down and narrow, more and more narrow, because of course in Toronto, there's nowhere to put the snow. We usually try and melt it, unlike other suburbs or cities like Montreal where they remove the snow, we have to try and melt it. And so the tipping point came the night before when we had to shut down the subway system. So people were getting to work, they were getting downtown by taking the subway instead of driving. And so Mel came to my office. There was an awful lot of frustration. We were talking about what other cities were doing. Buffalo had called in the National Guard days before. And of course, he went into his office and made that call to Art Eggleton. And later that night, up and down University Avenue, the Army came, of course, in Bisons. The big story, of course, was that no one died. There was a huge issue with ambulances trying to get to people's homes. 43 times the Bisons were able to go and get people in a state of emergency into hospital and make sure that people's lives were not lost because of the snowstorm.
It's easy to forget about all of that. Toronto kind of became a laughing stock, but it makes you wonder if the mayor decided against that, what would we have done? And if you do it, you get made fun of, but if you don't, then people, might not be able to get to doctor's appointments. Have you talked to him since? What's the how does he feel about it?
I think he knows he did the right thing. I think everyone I talked to in the city at the time knows that we did the right thing. People forget it was 1 year after amalgamation. The province had forced this amalgamation. You'd taken 6 cities and forced them into one. Things like how you would clear the snow, we were still trying to sort all those things out. So this was a huge snowstorm. There was more snow on the ground than Mel Lastman was tall. That's what the Toronto Sun used to do, and we used to talk about. It's one of those things where I think it was an abundance of caution. It was something where he's proactive, and I think everybody knows at the end of the day, nothing bad happened, and that's always a good thing. If government's too proactive, versus the alternative, which we've seen sometimes when government doesn't act fast enough.
Yes or no, do you think a mayor would do it again?
I think he'd do it again in a heartbeat. Hopefully we don't ever get that much snow again. I'm not a big fan of winter, that's for sure. But the Army also, I think they thought it was a good opportunity for them to show that they, in the media capital of Canada, where it can provide services to the people of Ontario and the people of Toronto. And I think at the end of the day, they're also happy to provide it. Of course, we hope we never need to use them.
Reminiscing with political analyst Jim Warren. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.